Hello everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well. Not working on the trolls today, as you can see, because I've finished them. They're all done. All completely painted up, based, painted the little campfire thing which comes with them, and I'm reasonably pleased with them. In fact, I'll show you a picture. So what do you think? I'm pretty happy with them myself. I think they look pretty decent. Didn't take too long, I wouldn't say, apart from the disastrous first paint job plus stripping. That added quite a lot of time, obviously, but after that they painted up really nice and easily. The fact that they're all they use exactly the same colour scheme on all three helps, because once you figured out the first one, the second two fly by. And basically it's just a lot of washing and dry brushing really, so pretty simple stuff, nothing too challenging there, but they look really nice now that they're all done together. That was my first real attempt at basing as well. Normally I'm not very good with the old basing. I just either do the whole PVA sand to it and then paint it brown, or I've got like grass flock that you PVA the base and just dip it in and shake off the excess. This time I tried to use, or I did use, the Sterling Mud texture paint, which actually I was reasonably impressed with. I thought it was pretty good. You have to use quite a lot of paint on the bases though, so I can see it being quite an expensive way to base the miniatures, but it does look really good. Just paint it, slapped it on, the old Sterling Mud, and then dry brushed it, Carrick Stone, and then stuck a few bits of static grass down. That's the first time I've used static grass as well. It's all new to me. So now that they're all painted up, it shouldn't be too long before I get around to playing the scenario through with the other half, and we'll film it of course and put it up for your delectation. Hopefully it should be a fun scenario. I'm thinking of tweaking it a little bit because supposedly it's just virtually impossible for the trolls to actually win, and I'd like it to be a bit fairer rather than just a foregone conclusion. So I might have a think about how I could tweak it a little bit. I've also just got to get a few bits of scenery painted up as well. I bought the Citadel wood to do, because I think it's in quite a nice little bit of terrain actually. So it's quite nice. The only trouble is it doesn't blend in well with the other kind of trees, or I don't think it will. You know, your proper kind of railway type trees that actually look like little real trees. But I do like them, and I think I'll probably get a couple more of the Citadel woods to paint up, because that's a nice amount of terrain then. And I'll probably make a few rocks and things to sit there. We should have a nice little Troll Shores environment then to play on. So, what's new this week then? Well, apparently, if the rumours are to be true, then RIP White Dwarf, or at least RIP White Dwarf Monthly, because apparently, according to many rumour sites, and certainly it's been floating around on the forums now, that White Dwarf Monthly is going to be coming to an end as soon as this February, whereby it's going to be replaced apparently with a weekly magazine, and also a monthly sort of gallery showcase miniature porn type. Miniature porn, that's probably not a good phrase to use. A catalogue kind of thing with pretty pictures in it, kind of like Cool Mini or Not or something like that. And I must admit, I'm in two minds about this. On one hand, it's certainly very sad to see the magazine of my youth coming to an end, or sort of coming to an end. I mean, I think I would have first bought White Dwarf probably in 1993, 1994, and from then on I would have bought it every month for the next, well, 5, 6, 7 years or something. And it was a really fantastic magazine through all that period. They had just loads and loads of content, and it was such a enthusiastic kind of feeling to the magazine. The people involved really seemed like they just loved the hobby, and they were just so pleased to be able to kind of work and talk about what they loved. And it was great back then because you had all the specialist games, like and I'm aware I'm not really talking about Hobbit at the moment, but I'll come on to that. But you had all the specialist games like Necromunda and Blood Bowl, and later on things like Mordheim, Gorka Morka, and you know all the ones, Warhammer Quest. And it was great because there would always be like little scenarios or different ways to play, or they'd have kind of, even for things like the main games, 40k and fantasy, they'd always have like new rules for something, or just a little scenario, little not fan fiction, but little short stories based in the universe, and it was just fantastic. It was just a really enjoyable read, and it's nothing like the magazine that we get today with the White Dwarf name. I haven't bought a White Dwarf well, for a really long time, but I have kind of, you pick them up when you're in the Games Workshop, either flick through or in W.H. Smith's or something, and I don't know why anyone would buy it now. It's so bland, and there's no kind of enthusiasm to it. It is just literally a sales pitch. The whole magazine just feels like a sales pitch, and oh look, here's a pretty picture of our latest model, buy it. And it was always kind of sad to see, and I'd pick it up and it would always just be a disappointment. And I think, well, there's no point in me buying that because I practically just read it in the shop. The White Dwarf back in the day, you'd be reading it for the whole month, because you'd just go back and you'd start off on the kind of articles you were particularly interested in. Like if you were really into fantasy at the time, you'd read all the fantasy bits, but then when you're running out of stuff to read, then you start going through the other systems, and just the sheer kind of joy in the person writing it would come through, and you'd kind of get into these other systems just from reading about them in White Dwarf. Nowadays it just doesn't seem like that at all. So on one hand, I'm sad to see it go, really, although it's kind of been dead to me for a long time anyway. But on the other hand, I'm really optimistic now, because they've obviously recognised that something's not working there. They've obviously kind of decided that, do you know what, it's gone stale, we've got to do something about this. And now it's been given a kick up the bum, and hopefully we're going to get some good content out of this. Apparently they promise this weekly one is going to have kind of the general articles and things like that you'd come to expect in the magazine. I think a weekly would work for it, because then you can have much more of like a kind of a blogger style that's more in keeping with the modern age, whereby you can open up kind of like progress reports of someone building an army or something, like one of the staffers, and it would be fun to watch. I used to love, back in the day, they used to do the Tale of 4 Gamers, and they've done it for a few systems, I think, and they've done it kind of a few times over the years, and they were always really, really great to read, because it would encourage you to start a new army as well, because you'd see how they would always do it on a budget. So they might have a budget of kind of, I don't even know now, I can't remember, well, I guess it was a monthly magazine, it was something like £50 a month or something, and so they'd have to be really careful with their money and think, how do I want to spend this? And so they'd go out and buy like a couple of troop choices and a hero or something, and then spend the month painting them up before then they'd get their next lot of miniatures. And they'd be kind of there'd be lots of banter between the four kind of participants, and it would just be good fun to see the kind of creativity into it. Often people would kind of put their own stamp on their army. Everyone likes to kind of put their own stamp on their army, and it was just a really nice article, and it seems like the sort of thing they could definitely do with a weekly magazine, because I think nowadays we're so used to up to the minute content. There's so many good blogs out there and video logs and things of that nature, amateur ones I'm talking about, that are so good. I guess there is an argument to say that magazines just have less of a place in today's society. I mean, I quite enjoy reading the What's New Today on the Games Workshop website. I find that's got better content on it often than White Dwarf does, because that's kind of seems more real. It's just the staffers being given a little bit of freedom to write about what they want to write about. Obviously it's still got the whole kind of sales pitch stuff most of the time, but the ones in between them are genuinely quite good. Apparently the other change that this means is that we're going to get a higher rate of releases. We're going to start, instead of monthly releases, we're going to get weekly releases, which seems to make a lot more sense to me as well, because instead of having a month dedicated to one very specific thing, I mean, for us, you know, Hobbit gamers, or then we don't really care that, say, I don't know, 40k army gets released or something or whatever, because it's not relevant to us, and then we have to wait all, you know, it's like, well, maybe next month we'll get something, and it's a long time when really they could stagger the releases better so that we've always got something to look forward to. I just think it makes a lot of sense, and especially even if you are into 40k, why do you, if you're not for instance a Tyranid player, you know, like the Tyranids came out this month, then you know, there's nothing really for you this month, sorry, then I think it's a lot better if it would be weekly. So right, back onto strategy battle gaming. My friend came over yesterday, a good friend of mine who I hadn't seen in, you know, a little while, and we do play games together sometimes, like miniature games. Mainly in the past we've played Warhammer Quest and Hero Quest, things of that nature anyway. And so I thought, I've got a chance here, I could try and get a new recruit, get someone into the strategy battle game. So I said to him, should we have a game of Escape from Goblin Town? And he was up for it. So we sat down and I was flicking through the scenarios, and I was thinking which ones are good ones. I wanted to do one which wasn't on a 4x4 playing table, because as I say, most of the games we played before use kind of tiles and things, and grids, so it's less intimidating than suddenly putting someone down on a 4x4 table and saying, right, you can move anywhere. So I said, let's play either, I think it was the first scenario, Breakthrough, the second one, which is Rescue the Baggage, or Guard the Crossing, because they're all the ones that take place just specifically on the Goblin Town platforms. And in the end we went with Rescue the Baggage, which is the one with Biffa, Boffa, Bombur, who kind of, it looks a bit like a question mark, the layout, so there's a little leap you can make. I've got a video on it, you could go and watch my scenario 3, I think it is, Rescue the Baggage. And I said to him, I said, alright, so do you want to play as good or evil? And then I said, well, actually, do you know what? Dwarves are more fun. You probably want to play as good. Play as dwarves, more fun. And so I took up the goblins, and we played it through, and Biffa, Boffa, Bombur all moved up. The goblins swarmed them. I killed off Boffa straight away, and basically throughout the game just slowly wore them down and killed them off. They didn't make it off the first platform. Second game, basically, because after that it was just like, oh, should we play again? Because that was a bit short. Might as well just have another go. Have another go. You know the rules better now, and hopefully you'll have a better idea of what to do. Second time, same thing happens. I'm not trying to be a bastard at this point. I am trying to sort of be fair, but at the same time you can't just switch off and do stupid things. Like, I mean, I could have just not attacked or just held goblins back, or, you know, other things, but I thought, well, then it's not really a fair representation of the game, is it? Because I have to kind of try and win, even, and I was helping at the same time and saying, oh, you know, maybe you want to kind of be careful there because you might get surrounded, maybe you want to think about using your might there. You know, I was doing my best, but just, we played again and the same thing happened again. The dwarves just got destroyed, and Biffa, Jesus, I can't remember, is Biffa or Boffa? James Nesbitt's character. Boffa, it's Boffa, isn't it? Boffa. Yeah, Boffa just died again straight away. And my friend just couldn't roll above a 1, a 2 or a 3. He was just, every time I was winning every single duel, every single priority. He just could not win priority, no matter. And so I even got to the point where I said, you know what, let's switch dice, because my dice are rolling really high and you seem to be rolling really badly. And it didn't work because he still couldn't roll above a 3. And we played the scenario through a few times because, bless him, he was determined. He wasn't gonna he was a trooper, and he kept on wanting to carry on and have another go. And the last time we played, it was either the 3rd or 4th time through, back to back, Boffa once again died straight away. I don't know why. He seems pretty good on paper, or at least as good as the others. But in this game, the dice gods hated him. But Boffa died straight away, and I think Biffa died soon after. So Bombur was left on his own, and this was really early on as well. So I said to him, "Do you know what? Do you want to just start again? Because this has gone so bad. This was on like probably turn 3 or something." And I said, "Should we just start again?" And he was like, no, we'll carry on. And I was like, okay. And so Bombur just traipses forward, gets swamped by 7 goblins, and of course I roll a 6, and he rolls a 5, and bumps it up to a 6 with a might point. Fair enough. It's like, hey, look at that, you won, you see? So he pushes all my goblins back. I think he probably kills a couple. Moves forward again, and I think, right, well, this is probably going to be it now. All the goblins swarm him, surround him, and I think I've probably got 6 on him this time. Of course I roll a 6. I think once again he rolls a 5 and is able to bump it up with his last might point, and smashes them all back and kills a couple. I'm thinking, bloody hell, suddenly, you know, Bombur could do this. Maybe Bombur could do this. Maybe it's like in the film where Bombur really is this badass in disguise. So anyway, he fights off this kind of goblin swarm single-handedly once again, and runs to the edge of the platform, and you can see the baggage on the other platform, this gap, and he runs and takes an almighty leap and plummets to his death. No might. Rolled a 1, so that was a shame. But holy crap, that mission is really tough for the dwarves. I really wanted to give it a go as the dwarves, but my friend was so determined. He really wanted to just stick with it. So I'm trying to remember. Do you know, I think I might have won it in our one that we recorded, but you know, my other half, I was still new to the game. My other half is obviously very new to the game. You know, so she probably missed a lot of opportunities that she could have used as the goblins. But you know, that's the way it goes. And anyway, so I think I might have failed to recruit my friend into the world of strategy battle gaming, unfortunately, sadly. Although he did say he had a lot of fun, so I'm sure we'll play more Escape from Goblin Town scenarios in the future. Lastly, it seems to be going around, once again, rumours on the internet, I know, but apparently we are going to see a Smaug miniature, if these rumours are to be believed, and it's going to be made by Forge World, as a lot of people, including myself, have suggested in the past. And I think there's generally been a reasonably negative reaction from what I can see so far. But for me personally, I think it's the best thing. I honestly, as I said in I think it was in my last video, I was really worried about how Games Workshop were going to pull it off, and I just couldn't see it. I just can't imagine a Games Workshop Smaug, as in, you know, a plastic kit. I just can't see it. I just don't think it would do the miniature enough justice. So for me, Forge World just makes perfect sense. They're used to it. They make huge, great big kits for Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k. You know, we see the kind of, well, God knows how tall, but probably like, what are they, like 2 foot or something? 2 foot tall Titans or something. And all the great big super heavies and things, and there's some fantastic beasties in the Warhammer Fantasy range. They just look so good, like kind of all the chaos demons, and then you've got the kind of mythological beasts like your dragons and things, and other weird and wonderful stuff, and they just get it so right every time. Forge World, there's such a high quality sculpting kind of company. They just do fantastic miniatures. Now, to be fair, I don't actually own any because they are on the expensive side. So that's the big downside. That's the big downside, is that if they're going to make a big Smaug, he's probably going to be, well, 250 plus pounds. But come on, as if Smaug was ever going to be a cheap miniature. I mean, he was going to be 3 figures no matter what. Surely, with with the kind of price increases as they are, if we're now paying, what is it, like £2.50 for a troop choice in for a plastic troop choice, or even £5 for a plastic, for a fine cast Lake Town Guard. I mean, how much were you really expecting a Smaug miniature to be? It was definitely going to be upwards of £100. So it's not a cheap investment or a cheap miniature anyway. So if they're going to do it, let them do it right. And I think the right way is with Forge World, personally. Well, I think that's enough for today. Cheers.